Hey guys, welcome to the Canada Puck Podcast, your weekly recap of what's going on in the world of hockey, specifically in Canada, and more specifically, I don't think we can get more specific than I just said. I'm your co-host, Mick, and you can hear me today, so that's pretty exciting. I'm on Twitter at ProfitMick, and I just like hot girl Leaf Twitter pictures, so that's what you get when you follow me. And I'm joined every episode by the guy upstairs,
Grant, on Twitter at Fourth Line Sports. I think we could get more specific, though. In our parents' basements. In Canada, in our parents' basements. Still sucking that sweet free tit juice of life.
Oh, you can't give that up. That's the best of the juices. So.
The old tit juice trick.
The old tit juice trick. Almost as good as, what is it, apple juice and... What's a good mix with apple juice?
Wild turkey.
Yeah, wild turkey. That's it.
If you haven't had a bourbon and apple juice, do yourself a favor. Get yourself a $25 bottle of wild turkey. You can get it for like $10 in the States. And you bet your sweet ass I'm driving down to Montana to get myself some $10 wild turkey the minute that border opens. A little splash of apple juice, couple ice cubes. It'll get you some drunk and way cooler.
Oh, 100%. Way cooler. Sweet. So this is your first show. Welcome. We are going to be doing kind of a look around, recap what's going on in the world. Fuck, you've already said that part. Oh my goodness. We're going to kind of recap the Jets and Oilers, Leafs, Canadians. Get you queued up for that. We're going to look at the other series, kind of give you a recap. I think everything's kind of moving on to at least the quarterfinals, I guess, at this point. And go from there. A little gambling advice. We're going to win you guys some money. Some betting advice I can brag about. I actually I think I might have won something, so.
You're doing better than me. Oh, goddamn. But, I mean, you should really listen for the full 50 minutes just so that you hear the advice, though.
Oh, and I mean, at the end, we're going to talk about a babe. A couple weeks ago, Grant's been throwing out some gems lately. I don't want to be that guy, but like $15 a month subscription to like OnlyFans, it seems like a good deal now. So.
Because you know the old you get the email for a Nigerian prince. Now the new sucker's gig is signing up for OnlyFans, and Mick is single-handedly keeping the OnlyFans industries afloat here. Like
doing it.
When they say that they're having a hard time paying out money, it's because they're having a hard time getting all the money off of Mick's credit card.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. Like, we know Mick's good for it. It's just going to take a little while.
Yeah, I got some assets tied up right now. I got a lot of Connor Hellebuck auto rookie cards. I'm just trying to move to pay for this thing. It's good. I'm good for it. I'm just trying to like make that transaction. So, yeah. Speaking of,
all right, I ruined your segue, but go ahead. Take her away.
Speaking of Connor Hellebuck, well. Do you want to start with the bad news? I think we just have to start with the bad news. Want to just pull that Band-Aid off?
Yeah, you know what? This has been there's not even a Band-Aid on there. This is a festering wound that was never covered up in the first place.
Little septic. So, as we spoke last week, the Edmonton Oilers were playing a back-to-back against the Winnipeg Jets, looking to take 2 games in a row, tie up the series, and they kind of did the opposite, and they kind of booped themselves a little bit. More specifically on the Sunday night game, they were up 4-1. Yes, 4-1. And after 11 minutes, was that 11 minutes or 9 minutes of action, the Winnipeg Jets roared back, took them to overtime, and a squeaker got past Mike Smith, sending the Edmonton Oilers packing. Shit.
Man, yeah. I never felt good about this series. After game 1, I was like, you know what? This doesn't feel so good, this series.
Yeah.
I was fighting those instincts, maybe. Took off my objective hat a little bit there. Holding out hope. Never came to fruition. There's a lot to dissect about the Oilers, and I know that a lot of it's boiling around, well, we need to get Connor McDavid secondary scoring. You need to get Connor McDavid scoring in the playoffs, first of all. I think he had 1 3-point night. And that was about it. Like, that was the one time that we got, like, Primo McDavid was game 3, and they ended up blowing it in the overtime. Well, they blew it in the third and then lost it in overtime. Yeah. So you can say what you want about secondary scoring. Obviously, there's some importance, and obviously that's an continues to be an area of weakness, but I hate to say it, Connor McDavid isn't Connor McDavid in the playoffs. Like he finds his fifth gear in the regular season, and I wasn't blown away like I was in the playoffs when Connor McDavid was on the ice. So,
well, we're seeing that a little bit with the more finesse teams, right? Like the finesse just isn't getting you as far in the playoffs. The playoffs are a little bit dirtier. They're a little bit grindier, and like, I mean, look at the Pittsburgh Penguins, right? Like the Pittsburgh Penguins are built a lot on skill. They have a very similar like organizational kind of like build, kind of top to bottom, and it just kind of those gritty little New York Islanders. I know, kind of jumping off topic there, but kind of just bring to light like another series that looks very much like this. A little bit better goaltending, some bigger bodies to be thrown around, and just kind of like a little more. I don't know. They just kind of do more the intangibles that don't show up on the stat sheet, right? And I think that's kind of how the Oilers got beat out there, was they just didn't have the intangible kind of people.
I will buy into this intangible speak just because when we look at the advanced metrics, Winnipeg Jets over the 4-game series, they posted an expected goals for percentage of 41.2%. That was second worst among playoff teams. Only team worse than the Winnipeg Jets in expected goals for percentage, the St. Louis Blues, who got their hoopers tickled by the Colorado Avalanche. So Winnipeg had something. Obviously, Connor Hellebuck, big part of their success, but there was something else, and there is something to be said about intangibles, grittiness in the playoffs, and maybe that was what kept the Oilers out of the win column. So,
so
I still don't like talking about it.
All right, so I have an interesting thought experiment, just because like we like to have a little bit of fun here, right? So I kind of wrote, what would happen if they won or lost, right? So if we could kind of go back to last week before we knew what would happen, and you could kind of have the conversation, like what happens to this team based on the results, right? So I mean, let's look at the Oilers, right? So let's say they won that series. If they swept the Jets, what kind of a conversation would we be having? More than likely, McDavid's leading the charge. Connor McDavid is awesome. He's a man possessed. It's not a team sport. It's a Connor sport. They lose, and now we're kind of like, they're wasting his talents. Right, like they need the secondary scoring. Like you got this great player, but they just haven't built a team around him, right? So two different narratives, right? Like completely different narratives. Let's take the Habs for example. So if the Habs come back and beat the Leafs on Monday night, come back from 3-1, it's the heart and soul of this team, and I'm guessing it has to be Carey Price, and Carey Price is such a leader, and he's such a tournament guy, and like, wow, that's great. And if they lose, you can look at the things and say like, they just don't generate the right offense. The coaching, lots of questionable things happened up front there, and the organization as a whole still just kind of mature. They're not at that cap level, right? They still need that big ticket, right? Maybe they can bring some offense in. The Leafs, it's kind of their division to lose, right? They're great. They're skilled up front. If they lose, they blow it. They always blow it. That's what they do. This team, doesn't matter who's there, they blow it. The Winnipeg Jets, different story altogether. If the Winnipeg Jets lost, I think everyone would be saying they need more depth on defense. It's their defensive depth that's holding them back, right? Everywhere else, they've strung that defensive depth. When they won, however, I think the narrative I want to have is I think they need more defensive depth. So the one team, win or lose, it's the same narrative coming out of that organization, right? Like we know Hellebuck is who he is. We like the forwards, but we look at the Tucker Poolman who plays 20 minutes a game. We think that guy could probably be upgraded somewhere. So. That's I don't know if that was worth it.
Well, I see where you're coming from. I would just like to point out that you have shifted stance on Tucker Poolman. Tucker Poolman has become the anti-hero for you, Mick. That is, last year you were singing this guy's praises, and now all of a sudden he's not good enough for the Jets after they win.
Well, I mean, I like his name. Like, it's the name I like. It's not the player I like, I guess. So, yeah, pour that.
Goal, fucking Tucker Poolman. Like, if this guy didn't end up a hockey player, he would have been a truck driver. Like that's an unavoidable career switch. So maybe don't put your curse on him just yet, because good old Tucker Poolman, he doesn't need to be hauling cattle across the country just yet, or whatever. Maybe some baked goods. I don't know what truck drivers drive around these days.
No idea.
Maybe.
Never seen a Sammy before in my life. So don't get out of mom's basement very often. So. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. So, okay, I'll talk about that. There's a game. It's a really boring game. I talked about it somewhere else. I looked it up, and it's a truck driving simulator. So you start in Phoenix, and you have to drive to Las Vegas, and it's the actual distance. But you can't speed, because if you get caught by the police, you, like, lose your job. So the game is drive for 8 hours at 100. So whatever the gas is, and, like, brakes, and you have to, like, turn. But, I mean, I think between Phoenix and Las Vegas is a pretty straight stretch of roads. Pretty much you just drive straight.
I would love to know which dark parts of the internet you pulled this from, because that honestly sounds like a punishment.
Yeah, like it sounds like something that's like, all right, I'm like, you know what? You fail another math exam, you got to play the road trip game. No!
All 8 hours of it. Okay, this is a seamless crossover, and I just have to say this out loud. I got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Manhattan Project for NES. Now that we're on the video game topic, I'm going to play the shit out of that game later. But anyways.
Cool. All right. Speaking of, Jets, good job. They advanced. Oilers, poor Oilers. But we can have a little bit more optimism because we've got a Game 6 tonight in La Belle Provence. There's going to be fans in attendance. It's going to be a raucous atmosphere. Did Alexander Galchenyuk single-handedly throw the Leafs season away with that turnover in Game 5?
Shit, man. That was like... I've watched that pass a few times. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know what he saw. Because you're looking at... You should see two Habs players between you and the person you're trying to pass it to, dicking around at the blue line, obviously knowing no one's behind you, and then you put it in the exact wrong place. Like, you try to lead, I think it was Muzzin, you try to lead Muzzin into the zone at the blue line with two Habs players between you. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, that was only going to end one way. To answer your question, and I don't want to put a curse on it, and I'm probably going to, yes, that pass through the Leaf season away, because now you're going into Montreal, hostile environment with fans in it. There's going to be blood shed, whether it's in the stands or on the ice tonight. Like, people want this, and I guarantee you this is going to crank up the intensity a notch, and it's going to make it a little bit more entertaining to watch. And the one thing that is kind of shifting me towards the Habs in tonight's contest is they have been so bad, like so bad. They've scored one goal on home ice so far this postseason. The floodgates opened up a little bit last game, and that is they got 4 on Zoom. I think it was 4. Yeah, 4-3. Yeah. But the goals were coming a little bit more naturally. Now they shift back to home ice, where their shooting percentage through the first 2 games of the series is 1.6%. Like, that's fucking terrible. That is so bad. Like, it can only get better. Carey Price on a Saturday night. I know I've talked about it all year, and like, I get that I have a half chub for him. I can't hide that anymore. I'm going full chub Carey tonight. Full chub Carey.
Trying to like look up over the screen and see it. I don't think our screens work that way.
Looking for free. Touch it.
It's gonna cost you.
Touch it'll cost you.
Yeah,
sorry. What happens after Game 6 if they win? What's next, Mick? What happens in Game 7?
I think you got to take it one game at a time tonight. I mean, if you listened to a wise man a couple weeks ago, he told you the Leafs were going to win in 6 games. He figured Carey Price had about 2 good games in him. I think Carey Price has been the best Montreal Canadiens player on the ice in this series thus far in the last 5 games. I'm not concerned because, I mean, they were up 3-0. The Leafs kind of came back. That is a 3-goal lead on the road in a do-or-die that they coughed up into overtime. And at that point, it's kind of a coin toss what's going to happen, right? Like, I mean, Galchenyuk makes a beauty pass, right? And it goes the other way. We're having a different narrative. Obviously, they're kind of done. So, I mean, I'm not that concerned. I do think the Leafs probably wrap it up tonight. But I'm going to hedge my bets emotionally. I said the Leafs win in 6. Hey, if they win tonight, that cashes in. Otherwise, I'll take that, put some money on the underdog Montreal, and play that game too. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't think that... I'm not concerned about this Montreal team in the slightest. Their offense is abysmal. Their power play is actually the best thing in the world. If they want to get Campbell's confidence going early on, they should go take some type of major penalty, go take out the best player, go fucking just like go head hunting, pick who you want, go after fucking Cole Caulfield or something like that, like end that kid's career. Take the power play. Guess what? That's 5 minutes where they're not even going to get a shot on that. And that's the best way to build up Campbell's confidence, and you're getting rid of some of their offense in Montreal. Awful. Like, if I was a Montreal fan, I would be looking at that, and what are they, 0 for 19 or something in the series? Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. William Nylander looks like the next coming of Wayne Gretzky against this great Montreal defense. Well, guess what? William Nylander ain't Gretzky. He might be... Nah, that's...
I was hoping that's where I was going to end. Just
William Nylander is not Gretzky.
The most colorful interpretation to arrive at the conclusion.
And I think, yeah. And I mean, they're doing a good job of shutting down the top line of Matthews and Marners, but those guys are having so many chances. Like, it's going to go in eventually. So I think at that point, I can't see Montreal winning the next 2 games. So, I mean, even if they win tonight, then it's a Game 7 victory for the Leafs. So that's how it's going to be.
All right. Well, I'm not going to take anything away from you. Let's cross over into... Why don't we go into the East Division? Because we are past the first round, so we got to break down a couple East Division matchups before we get to tonight's second round, the puck drop on the second round. Why don't we start with the Islanders? What did you see in the Islanders-Penguins series?
Just that... I mean, honestly, it seems like a pretty good matchup, right? Like, you get that high-end level of skills with just kind of a lot of grit and determination, good systems of play, good defense, kind of solid goaltending. I mean, am I talking about the Bruins? Am I talking about the Islanders? I think I'm talking about them both at the same time. I think both these teams on paper are very similar. They're kind of a very similar kind of builds. And I think we're going to see a very physical series, right? Like that. I mean, I realize you asked me about the Islanders. I'm now talking about the Bruins. So be
still
it.
East.
Still East. Big and physical. That Bruins-Washington series had some of the biggest, nastiest hits. Guys were getting just out there like there was no whistles. It was just physicality. It was a lot of fun to watch. Right team won. And I don't know. I think this is going to be a fun series against the Islanders, right? Is this a rematch from a couple years ago?
Maybe they met in the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years ago.
Or was it Carolina? Because it was like Boston was playing. It was either the winner of Carolina.
That was Carolina.
Carolina. Okay. All right. So.
But the Islanders did go on a trip. Maybe it was the Islanders' year last year. Maybe they went on a trip last year. I think they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year in the bubble, and then they lost to the Lightning. However, notwithstanding, you hit the absolute nail on the head with this, and that is you are going to get like playoff hockey to a T between the Bruins and Islanders. And that is they both play defense-first systems, and, you know, the old adage, blah, 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 defense wins championships. Like, that's true. Like, we saw what Barry Trotz did with the Predators over the year. We saw it a little bit with the Capitals, too. Once he got that defensive buy-in, obviously they won the Cup. He's done that with the Islanders the last 2-3 seasons. However, I think it's been 2 seasons there now. Barry Trotz knows what he's doing in the playoffs, and that's exactly what Boston lives and dies on, is that defensive zone coverage. I crunched the numbers, I think it was this morning, maybe last night. In that Cap series, they averaged 6 high danger chances per game at 5-on-5. Like, that's pathetically low. Like, that's bad. And this is a team that has Alexander Ovechkin, TJ Oshie, Nicholas Backstrom, Kuznetsov. Like, this is a talented offensive team that couldn't crack the Bruins' shell. So I'm excited for this series just because I think it's going to bring that playoff intensity. I'm still on the Bruins in this one. And I just, when push comes to shove, and that is, let's assume forwards are equal. I don't think they are. I think Boston has the advantage. Let's assume defense are a wash. Same. Boston has the advantage. But the clearest example of Boston's advantage comes in the net. And that is we have Ilya Sorokin versus Tuukka Rask. And God bless Ilya Sorokin and his Russian heart, but Tuukka Rask has done this shit before, man. Like, this is not his first rodeo. Sorokin, he didn't even finish the series last series. Like, he started game 1, got yanked, then Varlamov pooped himself, and then he got put back in. And then went on this tear for 3 straight games. helping obviously the Islanders move past the Penguins. The Islanders were no better from an advanced perspective, and that is that they still had some troubling metrics. They have a hugely inflated PDO. I think it's the most inflated of any playoff team right now because their Sorokin's obviously keeping them above average in goaltending, way above average, and their offense just operated a little too efficiently. This is going to come down, and it's going to come down in a hard way against the Bruins, because if Washington, being who they are and what they did or what they can accomplish, couldn't crack this system, good fucking luck, Islanders. It's not happening. That being said, I know it's going to be a tight checking series, and I'm not saying Boston's going to run away with this, but Boston is leaving this series and going to the league semifinals.
Yeah, just looking at... So I pulled up their roster randomly. I kind of forgot that Taylor Hall played in Boston, too. Which is one of those things where I think I forget about Taylor Hall just a lot in my life. So, this might be one of the better top 6 group of forwards we've ever seen for this Boston Bruins iterations. They're without the Charas, and they lost that other defenseman. No. Torrey Krug? Torrey Krug is in there, so the back end does look a little bit different. But, it's the same structure, it's the same build. They're big, nasty, they're physical. Yeah, I agree. I think we're going to see a little bit of B action. Fucking B action.
That sounds badass. I want some fucking B action.
B action. With that...
B action.
And then if we go to the other side and we go across the country, but more also south, we end up with the Lightning and the Carolina Hurricanes. So 2 of the biggest hockey markets in the States. I think there are no restrictions in either of those markets. I think there was 10,000 fans in attendance. So they got 25% sold out for playoff hockey because people just don't really care. But man, big hockey markets, man. Like, they love them some Hurricanes there in Carolina.
So I got it. Have you seen the contrast between the vaccinated sections and the non-vaccinated sections?
No, I have not. Do they go into detail and they show those?
You can just go. I'm sure it's on. I found it on Instagram. There's you go to the camera on the playoff or the vaccinated sections, and everybody's here just falls off. Then you go to the non-vaccinated section, and everybody's physically distanced. Nobody's allowed to be around each other. They got their laid back, feet on the chairs. If that's not the best illustration of, go get vaccinated, I don't know what is. I want to be in the playoff crowd. That's me. If you want to go sit and you could sit and kick your feet up at home. Yeah. Go get vaccinated so you can go to the arena and actually be a part of the madness. Get sucked into that, Carolina. And I think that they do. Was it Carolina that sold out, or was it? Yeah, Carolina did sell out.
It is Carolina.
Because I think they had 17,000, whatever it was. That's an environment I want to be in.
Yeah.
Well, you want to go to Carolina, actually? That sounds like fun.
Can I come home afterwards? Because I want, if I'd visit, I want to be able to return. So that's the only thing I'm wondering. So.
No, we'd have to bunk up in a hotel for a few days, you and I.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That's fine. It's just as long as at some point I can come home, not no, now you work here. This is where you live. Oh shit.
I was just thinking bunk bed for it, but you know what?
There's a Bubba Gump shrimp down the way there. You have to wash dishes. That's your life now. I was oh.
You chose this life.
You chose this. Hey, when you bought that plane ticket, you knew what Carolina was about. Oh, okay. So similar. Again, if we're talking similarities, there's a lot of similarities, I think, between the Lightning and Hurricanes, the way they're built, kind of constructed. Seems like they're kind of big, strong teams, lots of skill up front, decent back ends. That's how I like my hockey teams, and I like my women.
Decent back ends. Hell yeah.
Cool.
I think that there's a big mismatch here, and it's not going to go the way that you think it's going to go. Tampa was severely outplayed in the first round, and that is Florida got the better of them. They limited them, and Tampa got lucky. I shouldn't say they got lucky, but Florida's goaltenders blew it for them, without question. And God bless Spencer Knight, came in, did what he could, gave the Florida Panthers hope, but Bobrovsky and Chris Driedger absolutely shit themselves, and that cost the Panthers series. There was no coming back from that. Carolina's not like that. Carolina's better than that. I can't even pronounce Nedeljkovic, I think. Nedeljkovic? Anyways, Hurricanes goaltender has shown flashes of brilliance, and he did keep the Hurricanes in the series when Nashville turned things on.
Okay.
But Carolina's offense is on another level, and that is they force you to play their style of hockey. Like, come keep up with us. And Tampa, I don't know what's going through Tampa's head right now, but they played a lot of hockey. And you play until September. I know we chatted about this last round. You play until September. You get 3 months off, then you're back into this condensed schedule, and it just keeps picking up. I don't know how much gas they have left in the tank. Carolina's a better team. They're underdogs. And the thing that clinches it for me is that Carolina is plus 110 on the series line. They should not be plus 110 on the series line. When I was looking at this, I was like, all right, I will make a play on this if Carolina's 120 or better. And that is minus 120 through all the way plus money. They opened plus 110, which was way off what I thought it was going to be. I was like, perfect. I am absolutely taking the Hurricanes. Better team, better metrics, home ice advantage, and they're plus 110.
Great. Sweet. Yeah, no, I agree. I was going to say, repeating as champions in sports nowadays is like impossible, and especially I think just based on the schedule, right? Like the wear and tear that these guys have can't be met. So we'll see. Good job, Carolina, and that great hockey market of yours. You get a lot more hockey now. So.
And we're setting up the Eastern Conference rematch from 2017?
Yep. No, 19.
2018. 18. Because that was, or was 18 the Caps year? Let's work backwards here.
19.
20 Lightning.
19.
It was, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. We made it, fam. Don't worry about us. We got you covered.
Good. So that means the other side, we're going to get St. Louis. So I can't wait to talk about St. Louis. Just double check on the screen. Why did the Avalanche win 4-0? So now, we talked about this before. I guess that we assumed this was going to happen. We assumed it was inevitable. It was going to be the Knights versus the Avalanche. Is St. Louis terrible, or is Minnesota really good?
I was on the fade Minnesota train for the last half of the year, and that is they were like overachieving substantially to their metrics. And you saw that throughout the 7-game series, and that is Cam Talbot had to steal 2 of those games because I think he posted 2 shutouts. There was another game he stopped like 95% of shots in the other game. So that right there, and that is 2 shutouts plus a 95% save percentage game. That's like a 98% save percentage game in the 3 games. Like, those are the games they won. And then on top of that, their offense was operating somewhat efficiently, and their PDO was inflated. And that's exactly kind of what we saw towards the end of the regular season, where they just kept setting the bar higher and higher and higher. They are going to come down. And watch next year, Minnesota's going to fall flat on their face because they think, oh, we did this with this roster, we're going to do it again. I'm sorry, guys. 35-year-old Cam Talbot is not going to do this again. Well, however, they had a good run, but Vegas was the better team, and I am so excited for this next round matchup.
Yeah, no, this is great. This is 2 powerhouses. Favorites, two cup favorites. Like you'd have to look back probably a long ways to find 2 guys that are playing in the quarterfinals. That were I think they were the favorites according to all the books, right? They were the +4, +5 kind of thing. So I mean, it's going to be a heavyweight knockouts, drag it out fight. I like I'm not against a team going 7 games. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with the Knights going 7 against Mini. Getting that experience of this is what pressure feels like. Let's kick their ass, win the 4-2 hockey games, move on to the next round, as opposed to the Avalanche that coasted, right? Because historically the teams that swept, you get to sit for longer, and you just don't have that momentum. You don't feel the pressure. The guys start kind of skating on the back of their skates, as they say, a little bit quicker. So I mean, I like Vegas's chances in the series a lot, and I don't think there's anything wrong with playing some tight hockey, especially early on, right? Like, feel that pressure.
I just like every time you talk about big, strong things and tight pressure and fancy backends. Like, I don't know. One could be mistaken for where your words are leading people. Whatever. It bothers me that we're on the same side here, because whenever we're on the same side, things always go terribly.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get behind the series price. Vegas was like plus 158 to win the series. Big, strong, fancy back end. They got Alex Pietrangelo, Marc-Andre Fleury, Shea Theodore. Like, their back end is tidy. Their offense is outstanding.
And sorry, you said the series price was plus 150?
Let me just double check here. It was plus 150 when I looked this morning.
Huh. That seems...
It doesn't make sense.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so series betting, Colorado Avalanche versus Vegas Golden Knights. Avalanche are minus 194 favorites. Golden Knights plus 156.
Huh. All right, well...
Like, I got a little reckless on this. I'm going to be... So if this doesn't go the way that I think it's going, I might have to come over and you might have to feed me for a couple nights.
Yeah.
But I just, like... This line doesn't make sense to me. And if push comes to shove, the way that I rationalized it, I was like, you know what? If nothing else, I could just hedge this at hopefully some point when they're even and take whatever the day. I'm assuming it's going to be like 10%-ish, like 10, 12%-ish. Just to have the series played. Why not?
Shit. Great. Well, that's good. I mean, look, I learned something. I'm going to make some money after this because, like, great. Like, Vegas, well, I think I went a lot on game 2, and then last night I looked at the live line when it was 2-2 or something like that, and they were like minus 150, and I was like, well, Vegas is definitely winning this series. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. So I threw a bunch of money on that, and 10 minutes later it was 4-2, and I was like, done. Easy. Boom. Thanks, Vegas.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad you made money. I kind of started having these thoughts of that San Jose series from a few years ago creep back into my mind. I was like, oh, man, like, we don't take a major penalty, Vegas, for the love of God. But thankfully, you didn't. And this is a dream matchup, Avs versus Golden Knights. Like, this is appointment TV. This is appointment hockey watching.
Like,
don't miss any game.
If the NHL was a fake league, this is pretty darn close. Like, what they would, like, on paper, this is almost exactly what you would want, right? Like, maybe you'd want Crosby and Ovechkin instead of the Bruins and Islanders, right? But I mean, like, in terms of kind of your marquee matchups, these 4 games, I've got the Leafs and Canadiens. Those are 2 big, giant markets, right? Like, fan bases, guys are eating that up. Again, maybe Crosby and Ovechkin might be a little bit bigger, but the Islanders, Bruins, those are kind of big fan bases too. You got that huge fan base down there in South Carolina. They get to represent, and then, yeah, you get these 2 heavyweights kind of go. It's great. This is, like, prime hockey right now. Like, independent of everything else that's going on in the world, we're in a pretty good spot, so...
Yeah, we'll take these victories.
I'm gonna make that note. Very happy about the situation of hockey, and then we'll see where I'm at next week. Oh,
Mick will be yeah. The universe is gonna make Mick eat those words. You just make my words.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a big investment in Joe Sakic rookie cards, so again, watching him hold up a cup again and be like, oh, he did it. With the team, he did it before. Remember? And I'll be like, remember? Yeah.
I do. I remember.
I remember.
So this is like Nordique's Joe Sakic card?
Mm-hmm. It's nice. It's a good looking card. Yeah. It's not
Fancy
bad.
AF.
Fancy AF. Speaking of FanDuel, no, FFD. FanDuel. What's going on with FanDuel? Live. Upcoming something.
Did we wrap those series already? Damn, we moved quickly. Well, I guess that was half hour of our lives we'll never get back.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
My dirty fantasy. My dirty fantasy. We're talking about fancy back ends. Nice back ends.
Is this whole show just a big insinuation?
Yeah, I think we're running with this theme. I don't know. I'm feeling a little frisky now.
Huh.
I don't know how you're feeling. But...
I'm always frisky.
Always, the engine's always revving, baby.
Hey. So last week, we've been doing this kind of, so we're kind of, I think we're doing decent for 2 guys who never really played daily fantasy on FanDuel. I made like $3 this season. I think I'm up like a little bit, nothing to brag about, but definitely learned some skills. I think my I feel better now than I did a year ago, and that's all you can ask for. So I submitted a lineup last weekend. It would have been okay if I would have got the right Islanders goalie, but I'm pretty sure I said Varlamov, and it wasn't Varlamov. So if you took my advice and moved that, you might have won some money. However, because I entered a $15 pool, I canceled my entry and then forgot to resubmit it. So I'm not sure how I did.
I am still playing it safe with my 25-cent tournaments, but I did win money. Finished 432nd out of 2,395. Doubled my 25-cent investment. Don't like to brag.
Not bad.
I'm upgrading this week. I'm on to $1 tournaments. Just
nice. That's what I did too.
Guys, like if you're wondering where my confidence is at, it's booming. I nailed it with William Nylander. I was higher than William Nylander and Marc-Andre Fleury. Those guys alone combined for, what is that? Like 75 points.
Sweet.
Then everybody else just needed to tread water. Mark Stone had a good outing. Morgan Riley had a good outing. Malkin and Komarov and Crosby all pooped themselves. Danault was what we thought Danault would be. 6 points, 4 shots. You can't, I don't know. I just can't, I don't want to miss with Danault. Like, there's going to be a game when he makes everybody regret ever thinking every bad thing they've ever said about him. And I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of history, man.
I mean, I like where you're at, and like I'll do that in fantasy football, where I'll draft a guy in the 3rd round, and he will sit on my wide receiver 2 spot all season because at some point Christian Kirk is going to go off for like 5 touchdowns. I want to be a part of that. I want that on my team. But when he gets me like half a point one week and then 2 points, then 5, like eventually you just got to cut bait, and like kick him out. And like Philip Danault is pretty close to that, like with you in like this FanDuel lineup. So.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you can sympathize. So
yeah, like we've all been there. We all have these irrational attachments to something. But I got a banger for us tonight. I wonder if I just literally have the exact same roster you do. It's tough. When there's 2 games, there's a lot of similarities. So it's the differences that will separate us.
I think there will be tonight because I think you and I are on kind of opposite ends of the Montreal-Toronto game. Who do you have in your lineup?
All right, so let's start at the back end like we love to do. I got the man, the legend himself, Carey Price, $7,200, because everyone else was way too expensive. And I was like, well, I definitely know he's starting. Let's see what happens. If we move up, I've also got Mike Riley from the Boston Bruins and Shea Weber. I mean, for $4,400, Weber, if they're going to get some points on the power play, like it has to be coming from Shea's big shot there. So that's my 2 defensive players. And then I just kind of went for it. I got Austin Matthews. I got Mitch Marner. I got them paired up in my center and winger. I got Jake DeBrusk as my other winger. David Pastrnak, Patrice Bergeron on the back end. See if those guys can make some magic. And then I've got Jesperi Kekonemi as my number 1 center. He's the top guy on my thing because look at that cute little smile he's got in his face there. And for $4,200, why wouldn't you do that? I do have an extra $100 so I can upgrade anywhere I want, but I'm not going to because I think this entry is money.
Yeah, that's fancy. I kind of thought we were on the same page with the Bruins. I think maybe the deciding factor between who's successful and who's not really boils down to that Habs Leafs games. You stole the words right out of my mouth. Carey Price Saturday night. There was just no stopping me from backing Carey Price tonight. So I took Carey Price as my goalie. $7,200. Like that seems inexpensive. Obviously, that's a reflection of what the betting market says about the Leafs tonight. But Carey Price at home Saturday night, I'm here for it. I'm here for it, Mick. Moving up to the front, I like Boston. I know that it's going to be a tough series, entertaining game, defensive, but I still went with Bruins because I liked a whole bunch of them tonight. So, starting up front, David Krejci, the old Krejci master, $5,700. He's like tailor-made for the playoffs. I have him at center with Nick Suzuki. On wing, Tyler Toffoli, David Pastrnak. If goals are being scored, Foley and Pasternak are going to be part of them. I think Foley finally gets off the schneid, gets at least his first. I'm thinking at least 2 goals tonight for the Montreal Canadiens. Moving to the derriere that is my defenseman, Jeff Petrie, Charlie McAvoy. I splurged. Jeff Petrie, ton of power play time, boomer of a shot. He has been a better Shea Weber this year. So he's been what we expect Shea Weber to be, I guess. Jeff Petrie, $5,200. Make my words. He's worth it. Charlie McAvoy, good offensive defenseman. Utility. I kind of, between those players, I had a whole shitload of money left. Patrice Bergeron is another guy where it's like, and I took it, I could have went to, let's get to, I think it was like $5,800 players. No, I'm going Patrice Bergeron. Not only does he play on a line with David Pasternak, does a little bit of everything. He's going to block shots, do all the gritty playoff stuff you need him to do. I absolutely, it is a legal requirement for me to have somebody other than a Leaf, a Hab or a Bruin. So I had to go Leafs. Mm-hmm. When I was looking at this, Jean-Gabriel Pageau was $4,400. I want him, but I only had $4,300 left in my lineup. So that put me on the Alex Galchenyuk train because he was the next most expensive non-Hab option. I'm tempted to tinker. I want to find a way to get Jean-Gabriel Pageau in my lineup because I think that he's going to be a good offensive weapon. But if I can't figure it out, Alex Galchenyuk is there. But that leaves me $200, and I just need $100 more to get Jean-Gabriel Pageau. So maybe I'll ditch the Kreitzmaster. You know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ditch the Kreitzmaster. Okay. And I'm going to ditch Galchenyuk. And that's going to let me go Jean-Gabriel Pageau as soon as I can find him here again. Oh, man. And Josh Anderson's only $4,600. He's been having a hell of a year. All right. Yeah. New strategy. Jean-Gabriel Pageau and whatchamacallit. Let me just make sure he's a center. Yep, he's absolutely a center. That gives me... All right. I still got $1,000 to play with, but fuck it. I'm happy with this lineup.
Sweet, yo. Yeah, so as that's kind of the viewers can see, not listeners, sorry, listeners, it's just an interesting lineup, right? A lot of talent, still a lot of permeabilities, a lot of permutations kind of available, even though it is kind of limited there. But there's some good value here. You get into this kind of where I'm at, the 5,500 area. There's some fucking players. Zach Hyman has had some instances of looking great. Anderson, like Josh or like Grant said, is going to potentially go off, right? Somebody from Montreal has to score some goals, right? So it's just kind of picking and choosing. It doesn't seem like there's that one option, so that might be great. You almost kind of wish you had more money. Or you could just buy all the lower guys. I don't know. I'll leave that.
Apparently there was an issue with my lineup because I had too many Canadians. So...
yeah.
I went Josh Anderson, but I added Matthew Barzal.
Smart.
And I had to get rid of Suzuki. But anyways, moving on.
Cool, yo. So yeah, that wraps that up. And then all we got left is a little bit of Bettor Advice, where we try and win you money. I think I went 0-4 last week because I had a lot of stuff tied up with the Oilers. So...
Yeah, I pooped myself too. I don't want to talk about last week. I've had 2 off weeks, and it kind of... I've tweaked my strategy. I haven't really tweaked it. I've just maybe massaged it a little bit.
All right. So, as I mentioned off the top, I can just run through mine quickly. I do have a pending $25 play on the Leafs to win in 6 games. So that's them winning tonight, and that payout is for $87.50. So it's a good chunk of change coming my way. I'm just going to tell you right now, my play, because I already have that sitting on the board, I'm throwing $50 on the Habs at plus 160 to straight up win tonight. I'm basically covered, so good job, me.
Man, that is good strategy. Hedging Mick. That's the best version of Mick, whether you're hedging emotionally or using actual real hedging principles. Fuck. Good for you, man.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought you saw the cool hedge clippers, and you saw me out of my garden earlier ripping apart this tree. It was nice. An update on my Boston N1 series, or N-1. So the Boston Bruins won in 4 games. And for some reason, I didn't want 150. I liked them to win, but I didn't want to bet them. So I was going to bet individual games. And you thought, that's a lot of turnouts, the way you were turning money around. I finished with $75.04. It's pretty exciting. Had I just taken them straight up at whatever it was, my $50 at minus 150, I would have got $76.92. So I did a ton more work, was way more stressed than I needed to, and I lost $1.90.
Lesson learned. Lesson wasn't learned, but
stupid
good math.
All right, it doesn't work. There, I tried it. I tried something. I lost $1.90. I'm going to leave that. So that's my updates. That's where I currently sit. So I'm doing all right thus far. I'm feeling pretty frisky. Last play, $50. I'm going to take over 5 goals for minus 130 in the Boston-New York Islanders game tonight. So,
all right. I like those picks. I like them so much I even stole one of them. And again, the universe is going to make you a rich man regardless of what you choose and make me eat my words for being so high on the Montreal Canadiens. However, like I said, their shooting percentage is so low, it can only go one direction. Like, if it goes below 1.6%, I don't know what's wrong with the universe. Like, I don't know how the Habs have wronged the universe so badly that they can manage to score less than on 1.6% of their shots. Like, they fucked up somewhere along the way that I don't know about. I think it's going up. This line has come down substantially. You got it at plus 160. It is currently sitting at the book I'm looking at plus 148. And it has come down since last night when the lines opened, because it did open at plus 160. So I'm going to bet the same wager. The line I'm looking at is plus 148. I will take that for $40 to win, potentially $59.20. Unfortunately, I don't have this luxury of winning no matter what happens. So fuck you, Mick. But so $60 more.
So on my book, I have it at plus 157. So if you shop around, like if you're interested in that line for that plus 10 kind of thing going up, like that's a couple extra bucks in your pocket, right? So I mean, if you have a couple different books, don't settle on the first one. Look around, because like I was gonna say, I was like, when you were talking about your FanDuel lineup, I was definitely like, I should put some money on Montreal. It shows you statistics. 96% of the money right now that this book has taken in is on the Leafs. So,
okay, I will do my line shopping with you, and I'll take plus 157.
Sweet.
$40, $60 to play with. Limited schedule, so I tweaked my approach. I have Islanders Bruins. It's Saturday night. I can't not bet on an overtime game. Tight checking game. Boston Islanders. This game's going overtime, $40. And the line's a little curious, too, because when you look at it, Boston's like minus 190 on the money line. Something along those lines. Let me just get you the exact number here. But, and around that price, I would expect plus 320, plus 330 on the 60-minute tie line. That's not the case. It's plus 300. Line's a little fishy. I think that's because a few more people, other than myself, had bet on this to go to overtime. So, $40 plus 300. Islanders, Boston, overtime. $20. I have parlayed my 2 genius picks. Put $20 on it to win potentially $178.40. That's going to be tweaked a little bit. I'll have to do the math with, my line shopping skills and what you've obviously made available to me. So something around plus 180. Probably a little over 180 for $20. So I'm hoping, after the last 2 weeks, this is the new strategy. Maybe not the new strategy, but I'm hoping it leads me to at least a lap dance. Maybe a lap dance or two. I don't know. But if it happens, I'm definitely, you know what? Lap dance is for the boys. You and me, Mick. Or the cat.
Sweet. I'll just see if Mom can drop me off. I'll be good. So.
What? As long as she's picking us up too. Tell her to get us at the hot dog stand.
Smart. That's a real thing that's happened in my life. So that's cool. Cool. Sweet. Awesome. Things. Yeah, so with that, I think there's only one thing left to do, and that's to fill our... I've been basically edging everyone this whole podcast, talking about strong up fronts and tight back ends. Now Grant is going to give you that final coup de grace. Grant, who's your babe of the week?
I just got to... I I dropped the ball here again. Let me just get into my Instagram thingy here.
No, it's all right. Hey, last week, I was recording off my webcam mic, so you actually couldn't hear me at all. So we all drop the ball sometimes, and you don't have to point fingers or bring it up viciously on the next podcast to make someone feel bad about themselves.
You know what? I don't mind the shaming. I think there's value in shaming.
It's a good way to learn.
All right. I'm good to go. Are you good to go, Mick?
I am good to go.
All right, here we go. I have scoured the depths of the internet, and we're going on the derriere theme, just so you know.
Good.
Excellent. We talk about fancy back ends the entire show. This is the bow. This is the bow that ties it all together. Gabby Garcia _ So GABBY GARCIA.
Yeah,
if you are into back ends like you and I have been for our whole lives, Gabby Garcia is for you.
Hey, you know, she's got a lot of talent up front too, right? Like this is a well-rounded. She's a well-rounded individual, so.
Thick with 2 C's, I think, is how the kids are spelling it.
That's exactly how they describe that luscious lady there. So, well done, well played, sir, well played. So,
Gabby Garcia, babe of the week.
Schwing, indeed. Nice. With that kind of wraps you up for this week. We'll be back next week to kind of just see where it happens. I mean, I think I know what's going to happen. I'm going to be very, very comfortable. We'll see kind of how badly the Leafs are beating Connor Hellebuck next week. That's what I think is going to happen, you know? So, you didn't even know.
We're into the verbiage. Yeah.
You didn't even know. This whole time? Oh. This whole time I've been sitting here? This whole time? Go, Leafs, go! Go, Leafs, go! Go, Leafs, go! Go, Leafs, go! Go, Leafs, go!
You sandbag son of a bitch. I knew you were going to do something like this.
I did it. All right. Well, pleasure as always, Grant, and party on!
Party on, Mick. We'll see everybody next week.